Hi everyone, this is James here, and I just wanted to record this special video because as we know, we have been refreshing our Practice Accelerator, and actually this evening we're going to be taking all of our Practice Accelerator members through the technology stack that we recommend for starting or improving the efficiency of your functional or integrated medicine practice. But I thought I just wanted to take a moment. One of the slides that we created, we thought would be really valuable to our whole community because, we know that technology can be super overwhelming. And we hear from so many practitioners who are trying to build a practice that it can be super overwhelming to look at all the technologies, which company shall I use, how do we integrate all these kind of things. So I wanted to take a moment here today to talk about the 12 recommendations that we have for starting and building a practice, and particularly what order to do it in. Because ultimately what we've seen is that, you could get sucked into a whole thing with the EMR, but it might not be time for that yet. What order should you be building your technology stack in for your practice in the optimal way? So I'm going to share my screen here now, and I want to just take you through this. So these are our top 12 tech recommendations for any practitioner, whether you're looking to start a practice or you're looking to improve the technology of your practice. And you'll see, as I go through this, you're probably somewhere along this line already. So as you see at the bottom there, if you have questions on technology or integration questions, we can help. If we can't help, we know people who can help. There are more and more resources now that are helping practitioners like you integrate your technology solutions in your practice. So I'm not going to give you any specific companies that we recommend for all of these things, because that is really safe as information inside our Practice Accelerator for our Accelerator members. But ultimately, what I just wanted to give you is the order by which we recommend getting started. So when you're first starting your practice, the first thing that we recommend is to grab the social media profiles. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whether you end up using these things or not, it's great to have. It's kind of like your digital real estate, right? And when you start your practice, you should be thinking about what is a consistent profile that I can have all across these things, YouTube as well. So ultimately, you want to. There are resources online where you can go to see what names are available as you start to come up with your practice name. And you really want to just grab that real estate no matter what you do with it, because those companies spend a ton of money trying to be well ranked in Google. And so just having those things can be a great starting point and cost you nothing. The second thing, part two, is the website. And ultimately, there's a lot to say about a website, but ultimately, the website needs to do two things. It needs to, first of all, find a place where people can find you online and do the one thing that you really want them to do. If that's to book an appointment, it needs to have your phone number there, or it needs to have your appointment booking technology, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the biggest thing to know about your website is that 98% of people who come to your website are not looking to book an appointment straight away. They're just looking to find out more about you. And you've got to think about it like dating. Right? You don't get married on the first date. Most people have been to so many providers. If they're coming to a functional integrated provider, they've already been to so many doctors typically. And so they want to get to know you. They want to know what you're all about. And so ultimately there are things on your website that you really need to have a way to capture the interest of that patient so that you can warm them up, show them how you're different, show them how your approach is going to be specific to their needs. But a website is super critical. And by the way, you can see that you can start to do all these things when you have a day job, right? You don't need to wait until you quit your job to start building out this structure. Okay, number three is the phone number and virtual front desk. And just as a caveat, do you need a phone number? Right? You may think that the phone number might be the most important thing but then you need someone to staff that phone. And if you're still trying to hustle across from your day job into, and have a side hustle to build your practice on the side, who's going to answer that phone? Now you have to hire someone to do it. So we've seen some of the most successful practices in functional medicine have not had a phone number, or still don't have a phone number. If you want to interact with the clinic, here's the email to send us a question. Or, you can have even a virtual front desk. There's services now where you can sort of hire a service for a cheap, really minimal cost, or even free, where you can just leave a number and people can leave a message and you can get back to them. So, that's the third thing that you need. The fourth thing is an email autoresponder, right? How do you take someone from being interested in your practice to finding out really who you are, what you do, how you're different. That is a big part of the email autoresponder. So there are technologies that allow you, once you get an email, to tell your story consistently, right? To be able to share your story, why you got into practice. Everyone in this field has a unique story. You need to tell that consistently in a way that doesn't take up any of your time. An email autoresponder is the fourth thing that you need to have. Now, once you have an email autoresponder, now you can start to lock in other technologies together. Integration of technology is the most important thing and can also be the most overwhelming thing. So again, if you have questions on integration, you can go to goevomed.com/tech and we can put you in touch with either someone who can help you with that. So the email autoresponder should really initially take people from I've never heard of you to the next phase, which is I want to book an appointment with you. And again, if we're talking about a low overhead practice, number 5 is an online appointment scheduler. Right? In every email that you send out to prospective patients, you can say, hey, if you're ready to book an appointment, click here. The majority of appointments, people, when they're looking to book an appointment, is not during your workday. So is there a way that people can book appointments with you outside of like 9 to 6 or 8 to 5 or whatever your office hours are, however many days a week? So an online appointment scheduler, and there's lots and lots of great solutions for that. We have some specifically that we recommend in the Practice Accelerator. I just wanted to give you an idea of sort of what order to do things. 6 is the patient intake, right? If your patient intake is always on paper in your practice, then you're missing out on an opportunity to take advantage of really good technology. There are technologies specific to functional medicine. There are ones that are HIPAA compliant that are not specific to functional medicine that you can change and adapt for your own unique needs. But a patient intake, again, you don't need to work out the patient intake technology until you've got these other things lined up, because you can just use paper at the beginning. But ultimately, what we're talking about is each additional part of this technology stack makes your whole thing way more efficient, way more organized, and you can get into all this stuff before you have to quit your job while you're still trying to start your practice. Number 7 is telemedicine. So what is the telemedicine service that you're using? Right? Ultimately, again, if you're just having a small practice and you're just seeing people one-on-one, you can just, with that on the left-hand side, numbers 1 to 6, with just that stack, you can start to take appointments, right? You can start to do appointments on the side while you still have your day job. But then once you need to do follow-up appointments, you need a telemedicine system. So, what you'll see in through some of this is that there are technologies out there that combine, for instance, appointment scheduler, intake, telemedicine, and EMR, right? There are technologies that do that. There are some that just do telemedicine and EMR. There are some that do EMR and patient intake. Some that do, there's a range of technologies that do different things that will be better, whether you want to take insurance or not take insurance, whether you are a physician or a nutritionist. There'll be different ones that are better. In our Practice Accelerator, there's probably like half a dozen popular things in all these categories because people are building their own kind of practice. And so we recommend different technologies depending on what your unique practice vision is. So telemedicine is a big thing so that you can extend the reach and you can do follow-ups without people having to come into the office. And some practitioners are just starting telemedicine practices from scratch because ultimately, the laws are evolving, and depending on what state you're in, you sometimes don't even have to see people for the first visit in your office. The 8th technology is the EMR. And the reason why I put this as number 8 and not earlier is that, at the beginning, if you're seeing your first 5, 10, 15, 20 patients, do you really need an EMR? But then eventually you will. And when you start to use an EMR, you need to make sure that it's connected to everything else. You're going to get a short-term efficiency loss from starting an EMR because you have to learn the technology and it's slower than paper at the beginning, but you get a long-term efficiency gain once you and your staff and your team and your workflow is all set up. By the way, at this point, you still don't need any staff, right? You could run this whole thing thus far. All the things that I'm talking about so far could just be you working this stuff out, because guess what? Now you're an entrepreneur and this is part of the job. 9 is supplement management, right? So in the old days, you had to have a whole inventory of supplements. Now you could just have an e-prescribe service where people could just take the supplements and you can e-prescribe them to your patients. and then they can fulfill them, have it drop ship them, and you never have to touch it. Again, super low overhead, free service. You can actually make money from this, depending on whether you want to give discounts to yourself or take the income for yourself. It's up to you. Part 10 is e-commerce. So now that, with those first 9, you can be up and running a really successful practice with very little systems and with just these technology systems. A lot of practitioners, once they start recommending supplements, want to recommend other things, and they start to want to have an e-commerce platform. Again, like building your own one is not really the plan. And there are technologies that make it easy for you to have a store where people can buy and you can drop ship. And that's something that practitioners typically want to get into. 11 is patient tracking, right? How do you track patients between visits? Do you have a health coach? How do you make sure people are actually doing the things that you want them to do? How do you inspire behavior change? So some of our practitioners are using patient tracking to actually just get a window into what people are actually doing in between appointments. And that's number 11. And then once you have staff, once you have a front desk, once you have maybe a virtual assistant that you've outsourced some of these to, internal communication. So email can be clunky and annoying. What are some of the technologies that you can use to be able to communicate in an efficient way by subject, by category? So I just wanted to create this video for you because ultimately what we see is that this is something that's coming up all the time for practitioners. If you do have technology or integration questions, we can help. If you go to goevomed.com/tech, put in some of the questions and concerns you have. You've had problems integrating all this stuff. I totally understand. We hear you. We're working with practitioners all the time. And in our Practice Accelerator, we go into all of these different technologies, what you should use, what integrates the best, what would be the best solution for your unique practice vision. Unlike other training programs, we're not teaching you to sort of replicate an exact model that other people have done. We're showing people, here are the foundations of building a successful practice structure, and you can implement it any way you want. So I hope this has been helpful, and I hope you got something from it here today. If you have any questions, you can go to goevomed.com/tech. If you are struggling to integrate technologies and you'd like a supportive community to help to do that, we have over 500 clinicians in our Practice Accelerator. If you have questions about it, feel free to get in touch with us. This has been James. Hope this has been valuable. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.